Today we find the youngsters, how they get entangled in the viciousness. And by the time they realize, it's very bad, their dressing is such, their company is such, their attitudes are such, whatever they see on the television is such, and this makes them cross that line of moral code and conducts. And that is why they become victims. Nobody can help them. They become victims of drugs. They become victims of so many other things. And nobody can help them to come out of it. It takes a long time to bring them back, like Sita, to bring them back. So as he was taken, then Sri Ram and Lakshman come to look for Sita, and they find Jatayu lying there. And the subtle form of Jatayu emerges and gives them the complete news of where and who has taken Sita. So Sri Ram and Lakshman goes further to look for Sita. And as they go further, when we also get the spiritual understanding, get deep realization from here, when you will go, you will try to look for those Sitas who are entangled in Ravan's cage, isn't it? Those who have crossed their lines of moral code and conduct. You can become the embodiment of wisdom and renunciation like Ram and Lakshman, and look for them and bring them back on the right path of code and conduct. So as they go further to look for those souls, we find that they meet Shabri. Shabri is such a character, very poor in real life, but she wanted to entertain Ram by offering him the plums. She tasted each one of them to ensure that they were sweet and they should be eaten by Lord Rama. Similarly, today also we find there are such souls in the world, very poor maybe, materialistically, but they have so much of bhavana, so much of feelings and dedication for Paramatma, for the Supreme. Each and everything whatever small they have, they would collect. They would keep with them, thinking whenever we will find God, we shall give him that which we have saved in our life. And that is why the Lord is also known as Garib Nivas, the one who is the protector of the poor, the one who loves the poor, who has the true bhavna in them, and who wants to offer all that they have to the Supreme. God also listens to their things. And they are the ones sometimes to direct the souls who are with wisdom also what they should do in their life. This is how she directs Sri Ram to go to Rishimak Parvat, where he would meet Hanuman, his devotee. So similarly, those souls who have got spirituality and wisdom, these poor souls, sometimes they become instruments to direct, to show us the path, so that we find those devotees of Sri Ram, the Supreme Being. And as they move forward, they find Hanuman, who's the embodiment of devotion, who is a friend of Sugriva. Hanuman had some mighty powers in him. And Hanuman means the one who has conquered ego. Hanuman or uska hanan karne wala. Man, respect, and Anuman, doubts. The one who had conquered doubts and ego from his life. He is known to be Hanuman, man ka hanan karne wala. Which means, or the embodiment of selfless service. And not only that, one who had courage and one whose intellect was surrendered to God. He had conquered ego and assumptions from his life. So this slide shows that at least if we cannot become the embodiment of wisdom like Sri Ram, at least let us become the embodiment of selfless service like Hanuman. Can't we become like Hanuman? The embodiment of devotion, the embodiment of selfless service, the embodiment of having the surrendered intellect and courage to become the helpers of God, become the helpers of Sri Ram, the Supreme Being. So let us become like Hanuman. Hanuman is shown in the form of a monkey because the intellect sometimes jumps here and there. The mind jumps like a monkey. So although our mind may be jumping here and there, but if we have these characters, then also we can become true companions and true helpers of God as well. So let us become like Hanuman. And he takes them to Sugriva, who is his friend, and introduces to him. And Sugriv come at the feet of Sri Ram. It is said, whoever soul comes at the feet of Supreme Being, जो आत्मा प्रभु की शरण में आए एक बार, the one who comes in his sharan, in his protection, in his canopy, God promises him to liberate him, to give him the rights that he had lost. So similarly, if we are able to come in the company of God, be companions or helpers of God, God promises us also to get our rights. It is said that Sugriva had lost his kingdom and his wife, and his brother Bali only had removed him from his kingdom and taken over his kingdom. Now Bali was very powerful, but full of ego and always engaged in other activities. So similarly, God also promised Sugriva to get back his kingdom, to overcome Bali, and to get back whatever he had lost. Similarly, if we become the helpers of God, God also promises us so many things, and his promise are not false promise. His promise are always that which he gives to us. So this is how he destroys ego and lust and gives back the kingdom of self-control to Sugriva. Once Sugriva is crowned prince again of his kingdom of Kishkinda, it is said that all the devtas, the deities also witness that ceremony, and he again regains his self-control, and the 5 elements of nature also help him to maintain the law and order in his kingdom. But after that, he forgets his promise. God fulfilled his promise, but Sugriva forgot his promise because he was so much in the entertainment. And that is when, sometimes when we also become helpers of God, but if we forget our promise, God fulfills his promise, but at the same time, he takes or he makes us realize that there is something you have promised to me also. And now fulfill that promise again. So this is how he reminds him of his promise. And we can see that how he is able to gain back his kingdom. And not only that, but then they sit and discuss now what to do, how to get Sita back from Ravana's clutches. And it is said Hanuman had so many powers in him, subtle powers, but he had forgotten. He had forgotten the powers that he had, that he was able to jump the ocean also. He could do the impossible possible because of his surrendered intellect and the devotion that he had. And when he gets the blessings of the Supreme, his intellect is granted and people remind him that you have such powers, you can do this. So now in this path of spirituality also, the soul has immense potential, but we have also forgotten our potential. So God is reminding us. Brothers and sisters are reminding us what potential we also possess. We have so much of potential to do the impossible possible, and nothing is there that we cannot do. But if we also surrender our intellect to God, He will take care of it. He will take care of whatever obstacles will come on our path, and He will bless us. This is how He had blessed Hanuman also. And He sent him, chose him to be His most faithful and most loyal Doot, and sent him to Lanka. When he is able to focus his mind and intellect, and when he is able to have that concentration, because of the devotion, concentration and focus of mind and intellect, he can do the gigantic task also. If we also keep our mind focused on God, concentrated on God, and with the devotion in the heart, we are also able to do the impossible possible in today's world. And this is how, when he is trying to cross the ocean, the first thing that comes in his path is Mount Menak. It rises from the ocean. And he asked Hanuman, why don't you take some rest? Why don't you stay here for some time and then go onwards on your journey? So similarly, when we also become the helpers of God, there are certain elements that would come in our path also, asking us to rest. Now, in the path of a Purusharthi, rest is the greatest enemy, which I told you the other day also, that the time for God to distribute fortune is morning hours, Amrit Vela, and the time for Maya is also there. Why don't you rest for 5 minutes? And once we rest for 5 minutes, what happens? The Amrit Vela is gone. It is already 5 o'clock, and 5 o'clock we open our eyes. Isn't it? So the time period goes by. So for a Purusharthi, for an effort maker in the path of spirituality, rest is the greatest enemy. And if we also start taking rest in our lives, we can never achieve our goals. We can never achieve our destination. So he overcomes rest, overcomes Mount Menak also, and proceeds further.